Hello and welcome to the Decibel Boost Podcast, the official music podcast of the website Surreal Resolution. I'm your host, Robert, aka the Cuban Cal Chichesta, and with me, as always, I have...
Hi, my name is Alex, and I hate Pro Tools.
And...
my name is Mark, aka the Mac, the Maggot of Chapter 6 Answer Packet on 50 stacks.
Ooh, very nice. The rhymes and alliteration.
Yes, thanks for no worries.
I still have to hear that album. Is that any good?
Hell yeah, it is. Well, for me it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me it's good, very good. I'm listening to most of my days.
Yeah, I gotta get my hands on it soon. I've been listening to some other stuff. Oh, and for the listeners out there, as you may have noticed, there is in fact a new track playing in this podcast from the homie Mr. E. He, last week, dropped a remix of the ever so classic Usher song, Yeah! Obviously, Mark and Alex haven't heard it yet because stupid me forgot to link it in the chat beforehand. Yeah, I'm sure they'll hear it when this podcast goes up eventually.
Yep, I'm sure.
And of course, I shall unofficially declare this the Halloween episode, because I say so. And it'll be coming out closer to Halloween than next week's episode.
Okay!
Ooh.
Bears!
Yes, bears are terrifying. I learned that from watching so much Colbert Report back in the day. Right, so, how have you gentlemen been?
I have quite a story to tell.
Okay, I suppose we should let you tell it.
Okay. I hate Pro Tools. The reason for it is because Pro Tools has the most ridiculous DRM workaround system I've ever seen. Background to the story. I am enrolled at Full Sail University doing their online course, and 3 times in the last 2.5 years, we have used Pro Tools for our studies and our work. The thing is, Pro Tools requires this thing called the iLock, a USB key that activates your licenses for the software because, you can't outright own it. You license it from Avid. And the problem with this is, these things are so freaking tiny, I've misplaced mine. So, I had to go and buy a new one for $50 friggin' dollars.
Jesus Christ, that's like the cost of a video game.
Yeah. But that's not a good enough fix. Even though I have the program in my Avid account, I just can't reinstall it and get the license onto the new iLock key. That requires me having to contact Avid customer support, paying $40, which I currently do not have, to call their customer support and get some support back and forth going, so I can hopefully get a replacement license for software that I own. And I've been talking with my school, and unfortunately, I've gotten the news of there's nothing more we can do. You're on your own.
So basically, they just flipped you the double bird.
Everyone has. I can't use software that I outright own because I can't get into contact with the company who makes the software to get a replacement license for it. Sure, I have a fancy new iLock which costs $50.
Damn.
But what good does it do if I can't use the software I own?
That is very true. The moral of the story here is, Avid can eat several dicks.
I hate Avid so much for this. Their DRM is completely irrational. And personally, I'm glad I use Logic Pro because should I ever get another Mac, I can just simply download it from my master account and install it from there. No questions asked, no DRM needed.
Fucking DRM, man. Just...
I hate it. I hate this so much.
So I take it... Yeah, I think I saw you posted on Twitter, you had to pawn off some games or something?
Well, I did that anyway because I had to get Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 today.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Right. So, any such stories on your end, Mark, of frustration and just people screwing you around?
Not yet.
Things seem to be going smoother for you.
Aren't you lucky?
Meanwhile, I'm still, at my job. We're in sort of the rush of registration, period where students are coming in all the time. We only really had like, one advisor in the office this morning. Most of the advisors on Wednesdays come in like the afternoon. So, things kind of stockpiled. So many people. On the bright side, I got my first paycheck on Friday. Yay!
At least you got paid.
Yeah.
I won't get mine for another week.
Oh, shit.
Well, at least we're going to be making money, at some point.
Yeah. Not from this, of course.
Right. Now, a couple things before we segue into all the good stuff to discuss that happened over the past week. We have corrections. Well, one correction. And guess what? This time, it wasn't my fault.
Rob, I am a ticking time bomb right now. Get this out of the way and get it out of the way fast.
Okay, then. I won't play around. Okay, so last week when we were talking about the Tom DeLonge story, Alex had mistakenly implied that his side project was Plus 44, which was actually the side project of Mark Hoppus and Travis Barker. Tom's side project was Angels and Airwaves, which, now I think about it, does this correction really matter? I mean, who listens to Angels and Airwaves anyway?
Heck if I know. They only put out, maybe 2 albums at most? Last time I heard of them, it was back in 2006.
Damn. I was starting middle school then, I think. Yeah. So that was the one correction we had. And of course, I want to throw out an album recommendation, which also sort of counts as like a bit of a news piece from last week. Last Friday, the hardcore punk outfit Trash Talk, which you might know as that band that was signed to the Odd Future record label once. Yeah, that actually happened. They dropped a surprise free EP on their website titled Tangle. So if you go down to, I'm going to place a link in the description of this, you can go and, download, 5 tracks of loud in-your-face hardcore punk goodness. If that's your thing.
It makes the world go round.
Ah, yes it does. Which reminds me, I think they're playing down here soon. I should catch them live. They were pretty good the last time I saw them. Although I got, fucking nailed in, the crotch so many times by crowd surfs and moshers. I'm still swinging here, boy. And speaking of loud obnoxiousness, to get started with the music, we have not 1, not 2, but 3 releases from the Adult Swim Singles program that dropped since the last time we recorded.
And that is a lot. Well,
yes.
Ooh,
I'm guessing they must be getting this shit out of the way, really fast.
Pretty much.
But let's get to the first...
Well, the end of the year is coming.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, let's get the first of these out of the way. Yet another one from the Eardrummers camp, the same label that produced Ray Shrimmer and the Shrim Life crew. This one from label founder and hip-hop producer Mike Will made it. And a recent signee to the label named Eearz. It's spelled E-E-A-R-Z. Not to mention featuring a guy named Jace from another Eardrummers act called 2-9. The song is titled Pull Over. And, it's turn-up music. But unlike, that Ball Out the Lot track, this is actually the kind of music I can turn up to, because it kind of reminds me of, the Dirty South, crunk party jams that were, big when I was a kid. It's loud, over the top, crazy as hell, has some pretty thunderous, low brass stuff going on in the beat. And, that's a soft spot for me. I like brass instrumentation in my hip-hop. And, at least it has a pulse, so if I wanted to turn up to it, I could. The only thing I don't like, though, is, the flow of the rappers, because, they do this thing where they grunt and, breathe a lot between, words, they're catching their breath. It's almost like they did the Saitama workout regimen, before they came in the studio. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't like that for any kind of music. Keep the grunting and the breathing out of the final mix.
Okay, did you not watch Chocolate Rain? You're supposed to turn away from the mic to breathe.
All right, well.
Any thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, I will say, this chick is alright. I will say the Badette is better because Mike Will made it for me as producer is more meant to be, because he usually make he make these banger beats, but sometimes they make either real dark and kind of meh. But this one, just the opposite of that. It's more just the shit that they used to play during the mid 2000s, during the whole sudden boom of rap of hip hop. I can say I do like this track. It's a good banger.
Indeed. And now, let's move on to something infinitely more exciting that's not only a banger, but also just some straight vicious fire.
That's right.
2 years ago was the release of Run the Jewels 2. And now, 2 years later, pretty much to the day, we have the first official single from the upcoming Run the Jewels 3, a jam titled Talk to Me, and oh my god, it is some straight fire.
Oh, short, sweet, to the point. It's
so far your house will explode.
Yeah, Killer Mike and LP, as always, just bring, like, you know, the freaking vicious heat with, you know, Mike rapping about, like, how awesome he is. And I'm assuming this will be, like, the opening track on the album because it's, like, a vicious statement of just, like, they're asserting how vicious they are. Especially with, like, Mike going after, like, Donald Trump and, like, you know, insincere, like, all lives matter people. LP being just as vicious, and then, like, near the end, there's just this crazy, like, spoken word part where Mike is pretty much threatening you, like, I told y'all Run the Jewels 1, and I told y'all again I'll Run the Jewels 2, but you still didn't listen. And if you didn't listen then, you'll listen now. And yeah, the beat's, like, you know, just this constantly building, swelling thing with, like, you know, pounding drums, and even some, like, guitars in there, before it gets to a pretty loud, like, banger end with, like, you know, again, some low brass. Gotta love the low brass. It just makes everything sound so much better.
Yeah. You know, 2 years ago, I went to my local record store and picked up a copy of Run the Jewels 2 on beautiful blue vinyl. I will do the same when Run the Jewels 3 drops, whenever it drops. Hopefully sometime very soon, because I need more!
I just need a copy of this album to be in my hands, like, materializing.
Yeah, that's why I buy records.
Mark,
Yes, you shall receive, and it's not there yet. Well,
Work on your magic, Mark.
I tried. But yeah, like they said, this is my joint. I love hearing more stuff from Killer Mike and LP, and can for more of this album to come out.
Yes.
Yeah, good shit.
And then we got our third Adult Swim single, which literally dropped the day after. Turns out we know who the replacement for Die Antwoord is, and honestly, I did not expect this coming. It is from the Russian feminist punk rock collective Pussy Riot. Perhaps the name sounds familiar. I certainly know it from, like, when they got arrested a bunch of times.
I know them too for the same
Also,
reason.
I think they performed on Colbert, like, I don't know how recently. Maybe a few months ago, I think. Or, like, half a year. But yeah, for those of you who aren't in the know, Pussy Riot is this collective of, like, 11 women from Russia who perform, you know, punk rock music, usually in the form of, like, these really, like, elaborate, like, protest kind of concert performances. And throughout, like, from when they formed to, like, I think The Arrest, they only really had, like, about 7 songs, because each song was part of a performance that, you know, was protest. Then The Arrest happened. Then they sort of changed. Like, they still have this very, like, protest attitude to the stuff they sing about. Shit, I think they did a song about, like, Eric Garner, if I recall correctly. But their actual music element got more experimental and kind of out there. Case in point with this new song titled Straight Outta Vagina. Tell me if that title sounds familiar. Yeah, the song, it's this very quirky, weird, almost kind of dancey song. Really, like, okay, the stuff that Pussy Riot's released, like, recently has been, like, you know, not the traditional punk stuff, but at least it carries a certain, like, somber, serious tone. But this one's kind of, like, quirky and fun, even if the lyrics are all about, like, you know, vagina and how, like, it basically empowers women to, like, you know, run shit in the world and, you know, take power for themselves. Especially which is a topical song given certain unsavory comments by a certain orange-skinned Neanderthal.
And his Russian small muscled overlord.
Oh my god, it makes perfect sense now. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, the song, it's okay. Like I said, it's kind of hard to talk about it as a song because at the end of the day, Pussy Riot is more about the politics than the music. But, you know, I kind of liked it for what it was.
Yeah, I dig it too.
Yeah, it's all right. It's performance art at its core.
Basically.
And more importantly, it's performance art that protests Vladimir Putin and his incredibly short-sighted homophobic ways. And I can totally get behind that.
Amen.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, and that's pretty much, I think, all we have to say on those singles. One more to go. Next week. I think the last guy up is Metro Boomin. You know, the guy who will kill you if he doesn't trust you.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Rob, Pussy Riot was on the Colbert Report back in February of 2014.
Okay, so more than half a year.
Like 2.5 years.
Damn, he's been running that long. Jeez. It's kind of, I'm sorry, it feels like recently that it still feels like it's only been like, a few months that he started doing Late Show. Damn.
Remember, he had a show on Comedy Central.
Oh, right.
Yeah, remember?
Shit, forgot about that.
That's what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
the Colbert Report.
I thought it was Late Show. Shit. Well, okay.
No?
While we're still on the vein of politics, moving on to non-Adult Swim music, a surprise new single from Mr. Marshall Mathers, a.k.a. Eminem, a.k.a. Slim Shady, a.k.a. some other nickname probably. Apparently he's working on a new album, we don't know the name or when it's coming out, and he announced this via a surprise new song called Campaign Speech, which is this nearly 8-minute long sort of, diatribe rambling through various topics. Now, okay, it's kind of, people seem to be very on edge about, like, recent Eminem albums. Like, I'll be the first to admit that I liked Marshall Mathers' LP too, but, it had some problems. And as for this new song, I can't really, like, flow with it. Like, I think the main thing is just, like, okay, it kind of reminds me of, like, a Lupe Fiasco song. And I can't really jive with Lupe Fiasco. Sorry about that, Lyrical Miracle Spiritual fans. It's just that he overwrites his songs, and it feels like it takes forever to, like, get to the point or even a point. That's kind of what it is with Campaign Speech, the name of the song. Like, it's this low, like, pretty much almost non-existent beat as Eminem just kind of rambles on about, like, he just flows from a random set of topics with no clear focus. I mean, there's one bit I kind of like where he takes Donald Trump to task for, having the gall to call himself, an outsider candidate, even though he's a fucking rich white businessman, a corporate whore born with every silver spoon in his mouth, which is basically, every politician. That part I did like, but the rest of the song just kind of feels like this unfocused, rambling thing, and I just can't jive with it all that much.
Yeah, further listen to it is like, wow, it's 8 minutes, okay. I'll be honest, I listened to this once because it's just like a chore to listen to. I mean, I get the Don't Y'all thing was alright, that was good, but the rest of the verse is like, okay, we get it, you're saying, you got a lot of bars, okay, we get it, but damn, we kind of really don't care. Like, you seem like you're just talking a whole lot of shit, which, okay, that's fine, but it just feels exhausting. Not to mention the beat here is, it's very non-existent, and I'm not saying this a bad thing. I know, like, I'm not one artist that don't use drums to his beats, but the difference, and that's Cobb, the difference is, at least when Cobb does it, it sounds good. Here it just sounds like very, very just unfinished, or just lacking something.
Yeah, the thing is, like, Eminem is, like, a forceful guy, a force of personality. Like, for Cobb, minimalism works because that's his, like, rapping style. It's very, low and minimal.
Yeah.
But Eminem is this fucking boisterous, obnoxious persona. Shouldn't he have, like, a beat to match?
Yeah, I think the thing with Eminem is I don't think he has a good ear for beats that much. At least
sometimes he gets
now.
lucky, but other times
it's like pick some better guys or pick some better producers or get Alchemist again. Get him again to make his shit.
Indeed.
I don't know. I'm not really feeling this much. I'm not really feeling this joint that much.
Any thoughts on your end, Alex?
I haven't really paid Eminem much attention since like 2005, 2006, so not really, no.
It's basically around the time he fell off a bit, so yeah, no one can blame you for that.
Yeah, I didn't like Rap God, sorry.
That's cool. Okay, up next, the only real metal song that came up in the past week or so from thrash metal veterans Overkill. To me, one of like the only like classic thrash bands that stayed pretty consistently good throughout their career. Apparently, they're dropping a new album called The Grinding Wheel, which I'm not sure when it's coming out, and they dropped a single called Our Finest Hour. And well, it's Overkill. It's thrashy as hell. The vocals wail. The guitars are, shreddy and heavy as fuck. And it's just a pretty fun song. And I know this is kind of a minor point, but the lyrics are a little bit cringy. Like even by thrash standards. There's a line in there about picking your nose.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's Overkill. It's pretty basic formulaic thrash. That's fine for Overkill, but for me as a listener, I wasn't really feeling it. I'm not one to stay in the same spectrum or zone for too long. I do like some kind of range and diversity when a band, continues going forward for 20, 25, 30 years.
Fair enough. Gotta, spice things up every now and then.
Yeah.
Speaking of spicing things up, Action Bronson.
Hell yeah!
Okay, this came up on like a recent episode of his Vice-produced series, Fuck That's Delicious. Yes, it's actually the name of the series. Get it? He was a chef once.
Yeah, that meant he
dropped a video for a new song called Durag versus Headband. Now, I gotta admit, I'm not wholly familiar with Action Bronson firsthand. Like, I heard one song of his, and I think it was on the 2013 Adult Swim Singles program, and, I thought it was a pretty good song. This song, I'm kind of half and half on it. Like, it's not bad or anything, but, like, okay, the beat itself is, like, this really simple, just drum thing. Like, it's literally that. It's just, like, a simple, repetitive drum beat. And then his rapping is very, like, kind of free-form, stream of conscious. Although some of the lyrics are, like... Okay, there's one in particular. I guess you would call it the chorus. I guess, I don't know. The song doesn't really have, like, a form or structure to it. Where he's like, I've been high since I was this big. And, the joke only works if you're watching the video. He, like, points down to, like, about half his size. Like, I've been high since I was this big. Stupid. And I'm like, okay, is this just, like, hip-hop dad jokes or something? Not even kidding. That's like a hip-hop dad joke. Plus, he throws in a reference to, like, some bit out of Wayne's World, which is apparently a thing people still remember.
Hey, that was a good movie.
It was, but, like, people still remember, like, references and stuff from it.
I do.
I'm surprised. But, yeah, the song was, just kind of average. Just the lyrics are so, like, ridiculously corny. And I don't think, like, good corny, though, like drum or something. But, Mark, you're a fan of Action Bronson, right?
I think yes, I am. I will say for the song, listen to, like, it's pretty typical. I mean, I think, like, this more than you did. The lyrics were kind of mad to me, but I did like Action's performance on it. Although I will say, like the person who did the chorus, that's Big Body Best, who I kind of almost confused for a bit for Action because they kind of almost sound alike, to be honest. Oh,
I mean, he doesn't really do much in the song.
Yeah,
He's just like, when I die, spread my blood on a BMW. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much. And production isn't. I mean, I don't think it's too bad. I mean, I can definitely fuck with it. Like, I mean, it's not the best. It's not because like Niles produced the song, and it's not his best, but it's like serviceable. And I will say the music video for it is kind of weird. So at the end of the music video, Bess was calling out the horse. Like the horse, there was a horse. There was a horse at the end. Like Big Bob Bess was calling Action like. The horse is drunk again. Like, yeah, it's not like Adult Swim level Eric Andre crazy, but it's kind of like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, that's what I remember hearing about Action Bronson as well, because I remember he like appeared on the Eric Andre show once.
Oh yeah.
Remember he rap battled Killer Mike on a treadmill?
Yeah,
Get it because they're fat.
Season 4
we'll say for someone who has followed Action Bronson, like, I listened to this and his first album, Mr. Wonderful. I feel like it's sort of slightly better than what I heard from that album. I mean, that album's alright, but I feel like this would have fit better in that album instead of, I don't know, some other songs. But hey, maybe they can all be always gems, but hey, it's alright.
Okay.
It's passable.
Fair enough.
You get a C+.
And we got one more song for the past week from good old Common. He's apparently dropping a new album 4th called Black America Again, and he's dropped a handful of singles, like, I think 2 or 3 in the past week, so I decided to go with, like, one in particular, a song called Home, which, I don't listen to a lot of Common. He's never been, like, on my radar personally, but, I thought the song was pretty cool, had some really, tight production, some great flow, some pretty, clever lyrics to it, and I don't really have much to say. It was just a pretty good song.
Yeah, I access to that. The song's alright. Like, I heard, like, I don't think it's his best single. I don't know, out the whatever album is coming out, Black American again. Like I heard another single before that. I thought that one was kind of better on at least on the production tip. But on here with him, but yeah, also everything was fine. And with Bilal, he did all right with that too. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yep, that's it for the song, and that's it for all the songs this week. After a quick break, we're gonna get right into the news, where we have some unfinished business with Common. And we're back. So like I said, we have some unfinished business regarding dear old Common. Apparently in the past week, it came out that he's in talks with Fox to produce a television sitcom. The project currently is titled 93 Till Infinity. You know, apparently one of those single camera sitcoms, you know, like a lot of the ones, you know, live action stuff, Brooklyn Nine-Nine and all that. Apparently the series, predictably, centers on a black rapper from the 90s struggling to sort of figure out, like, where he's going in life right now. So, you know, it kind of sounds like the plot of, like, that Billy Joe Armstrong movie that came out recently, you know, about, like, an old, aging punk rocker who's, like, trying to figure out how to, you know, survive modern day without losing touch with his roots.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So, it's currently, like, in the planning stages. Who knows if it'll, like, you know, make it to air. But, you know, there's a chance. But if it does, would it have an audience? I mean, you know, as we all know, like, the big sort of TV show that sort of has, like, rappers as big focus points, Atlanta. Although that's more like one of those prestige, like, dramatic comedies instead of just, you know, the shit they air to fill time on frickin' Fox.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think when we thinking of, like, on Fox, like, I know, like, the biggest, like one of the biggest shows on Fox that got hip-hop elements to it is Empire.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can't not mention Empire.
I never watched it. I got too much TV I'm behind on, okay? I'm still, like, 2.5 seasons behind on The Walking Dead.
No, you're not going to like where they are now.
It's okay. I just hope that Glenn is still alive.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
But yeah, who knows if this will, like, make it to air. Maybe it will. I know Common's, like, somewhat prolific when it comes to television and movie production. Maybe we'll have that to look forward to probably next year. Just a thought. And speaking of rap legends from the late 80s and early 90s, segue, we have news of a reunion of perhaps one of the all-time great golden age hip-hop acts. I am, of course, speaking of the duo of Eric B. and Rakim.
Ooh.
That's right, the iconic MC-producer duo who have produced such classic albums like, you know, Paid in Full and Follow the Leader. They've been teasing through Twitter over the past week and then finally announced that they are back. They're planning a reunion tour for 2017. They're going to be reissuing their classic, you know, discography and even shooting some new music videos for a couple of, you know, their biggest hits. The names of which kind of escape me at the moment.
Ah. Okay.
So, any thoughts, people?
Okay. I mean, I'm all for this. Like, because I'm like, I think like Foley is my favorite songs from them, and it get better. It's like, oh, well, damn. I didn't think to get about to get this time, but all right. I'll wait and see what happens with that.
As do I. Then again, to be fair, I only like listened to their albums like recently, but they're like, I can see why they became such, you know, legends of the genre, because, you know, they're sort of like, they pretty much were like the first like group to sort of like raise the bar as far as hip hop lyricism, because, you know, you think like late 80s, you kind of think some of the rap from then is kind of corny, but these guys were like fucking, you know, legit. And, you know, if there's a reunion tour, maybe there will be a new album from them, perhaps.
Yeah. You know, I have heard that might collaborate with Quasimodo, aka Madlib, for something, but that's what I heard. I hope it's true, because them together makes me a happy Mac.
Indeed. And speaking of things that'll make the people on this podcast happy, if they do decide to record anything new, maybe, I don't know, Adult Swim Singles 2017?
Maybe.
Remember, Jason
Come on,
is
do it.
like a damn huge fan of the two, so maybe, fingers crossed.
Cross those fingers tight.
And toes. Wait, maybe not that. I don't know.
If you can do that, either you need to put that on YouTube or you need to go see a doctor. Or both. Up next is, news involving, music and beefs, and also YouTube. I'm sure some of you listening out there might be familiar with the one known as Jarrod Alonge, the guy who makes a living on YouTube telling the same 2 or 3 jokes about pizza and can't even gent.
Unlike our Jarrod.
Right. Okay, so the other day on his Facebook page, Chodzilla, which is, his outlet for shitposting the dankest memes, he posted sort of like a t-shirt design based on a gag from one of his, comedy vids. One of those videos being, he has a series of videos where he'll, tell you the proper ways to pronounce various band names in the alternative music scene, but the joke is he always does them in a blatantly incorrect manner. One such band being one of the only pop-punk bands from the current decade that I like apart from the Wonder Years, Knuckle Puck. He pronounced the name, I think he may have actually done this twice. I believe it was both Knuckle Puck and Knuckle Puck. So he took that joke and adapted it into a t-shirt design, sort of, spoofing a t-shirt design of theirs. The shirt says, Knuckle Puck in an arch, and then the name of their album, Copacetic. And then his, shirt says, Knuckle Puck, everything is phonetic. Wordplay? See what they did there?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the members of the band didn't take to this rather fondly. Which is strange, because Jarrod seems like a guy who gets along pretty well with, a lot of guys in the Warped Tour scene, but apparently the members of Knuckle Puck just, fired back and fucking, got really pissed off on Twitter about it. And Jarrod even made a video in response where he was like, look, this is perfectly legal, it's, parody and, fair use. He even cited a t-shirt design from Knuckle Puck, which references, the Sony brand. Although apparently they didn't think this was a good argument.
Well, now you know me. You know that I'm the big copyright guy here. What this is perfectly legal. You can make shirts that are direct parodies or rip-offs of other designs so long as they're not actually infringing on whoever's trademarks. You can alter it, you can parody it, you can make fun of it, you can satirize it, and it's perfectly legal. Knuckle Puck are just being a bunch of piss ants.
Yeah. Although I suppose it teaches me a certain lesson about artists. Eventually everyone, even artists that I like, say something really goddamn stupid. I'm probably still gonna listen to their music though. It's just, come on, parody. Besides, it's not even, that offensive of a thing, to be honest. I'm sure if Jarrod wanted to, he could say, and do much worse with your branding. And besides, have you ever walked into, if you've ever walked inside a Hot Topic and lived to tell the tale, all the bands there, their shirts just spoof and reference all kinds of pop culture shit. In addition to just being, visual vomit. It's, honestly... No, but what position are, you in to be all, this spoofs, this infringes on our brand, dude, Jarrod's a dick.
Just makes you look like a bunch of assholes is what happens.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on from, assholes to other things that don't involve assholes. In this case, electronic music producer Porter Robinson. He dropped a music video in the past week for a song called Shelter. Now, what's notable about this was it was an anime short film, produced in collaboration with both the online streaming and distribution service Crunchyroll and Japanese anime production studio A1 Pictures. Yeah, and the video, the premise of it involves, this girl who's trapped in, she thinks she's an artificial intelligence in, a virtual world, and, she controls the reality around her, but she's unsure of what, she keeps sort of getting these vague memories of something sort of implying another life, which, as it turns out, is to be another life, because she's just hooked up to some kind of VR simulation in the real world. Now, the song itself is alright, but the video is gorgeous. And the actual,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the story is, for a short, for a 6-minute anime short, it's kind of, legitimately sad. I'm not gonna cry.
Oh.
I'm not gonna cry.
This is some really sad shit.
Just watching through it and knowing all the detail behind the narrative, that is a really sad story. I'm like, my God.
Yeah. It's just a shame that our anime on Reddit didn't feel the same way.
I was just gonna
Yeah,
bring it up.
you want to touch on this? I'll let you go off on this.
Sure. So, one of the mods on Reddit's R Anime board pretty much took down a post that had this video on there saying, no, this isn't real anime. Real anime is produced in Japan for a Japanese audience. So, by that logic, IGPX, Afro Samurai, Dream Theater's Forsaken Video, Space Dandy, those aren't real anime. Let's not forget all the Marvel anime that aired on G4 a couple years ago. That's not real anime because it was produced for us Yankee Gaijins.
Like, I don't understand how you could say this isn't anime. It's produced by A1 Pictures, one of the most anime as fuck anime studios out there.
Yeah, and let's all be glad they finally produced something that isn't total garbage. SAO.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget Occultic 9, and I think also the Asterisk War, or Ass Wars as we call it.
And Olimo?
Yeah, pretty much,
yeah.
Outside of this and a race, this is one of the few good things A1 made in the past year.
Oh, absolutely.
So why are you getting mad at this Reddit anime people?
You bunch of weak bitches.
Yep.
The moral of the story here is Reddit is wrong about everything.
Pretty much.
As always.
Then again, this was a lesson I learned in high school, so... But we got another music video to talk about. This one brought to my attention by good old Mark. One of my favorite albums of last year was Oneohtrix Point Never's Garden of Delete, which actually turned out to be the first time I ever actually heard or listened to the guy. And, I checked out the rest of his discography afterwards, and I like his stuff. In the last week, he dropped a music video for a track off that album titled Animals. Now, if you never heard the original song, it's depressing as shit. Like, it's this very complex, like, glitchy electronic thing. Like, the production on it almost kind of sounds like you're listening to a chopped up version of, like, an NES game soundtrack. But, like, remixed in a way to be, like, sad as hell. And just, it makes you think about the emptiness of your own existence.
And I like that.
Yep.
And the music video was, well, it sort of captures that as well, although... it also has a good amount of strobe effects, which kind of hurt my eyes a little.
One of those that got epilepsies and all that shit. You may not want to watch that. Just saying, if you got the epilepsy kind of thing, then it's not bad for you to watch.
Just do what I do. Play the video, go to another tab, and just listen to the music.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is a shame, because, like, I would agree with, like, the idea that the stuttering and strobe effects do kind of add something to, like, the depressing tone of the song and video, which the video is pretty, like, simple. It's just, like, a couple shots of, like, a bedroom, some stuttering, like, red screens, and a man. That man being celebrated Hollywood actor Val Kilmer.
In a tracksuit.
Yeah, and he's just kind of, like, sitting there on his bed, and he's just, like... It almost kind of looks like he's about to wake up from a NyQuil nap.
It just raises too many questions.
He's thinking...
I see what you did there.
And right now he's thinking, why did I do Batman Forever?
At least he wasn't George Clooney in Batman and Forever.
That's true. He's not that motherfucker.
Yeah. The song itself is actually it's really, really good. I like the chiptune elements of it. It's how it sort of just builds to a growing crescendo, and then it just stops. Just cuts off completely. I like it and hate it for doing that.
Me as the OPN fan I am. I can never do this track, especially with the production, the whole chiptune, like a old school video game production like that.
And of course, it works.
Yeah,
it works pretty well with the video, like I said.
Yeah. And the rest of the album is solid. Get that song and the album a listen.
Indeed. And speaking of Val Kilmer, his son Jack is up to some stuff recently. And we were actually supposed to have a friend on here to help us discuss this, but shit went wrong on his end, let's say. Sorry, Trevor. But let's actually, get into this story. Now, Jack Kilmer, along with a couple other actors, including Sky Ferreira, I'm probably pronouncing that horribly. I remember her from a bit part in The Green Inferno, which sucked. But anyway, Jack and Sky have been commissioned to a film recently. A movie called Lords of Chaos, which is actually a film adaptation of a non-fiction book that documents the early days of the Norwegian black metal scene, specifically with a focus on mayhem and, of course, our good old friend Varg Vikernes of Burzern. You know, the guy who's a white nationalist on YouTube who burned down churches and stabbed one of the dudes from Euronymous and spent a lot of time in prison for it.
And that's why I stay away from the black metal scene.
It's like, you people think like metal, like, the death metal guys are crazy for singing about the shit they do. Varg was actually doing that shit. And shitty music in the process. But yeah, there's been a film adaptation of this book has actually been trying to get off the ground for a while. I think its earliest incarnation, sometime around 2010, it was supposed to be helmed by Japanese film director Shion Shino, which would have marked their first American production, and it would have starred Jackson Rathbone as Varg. You might recognize him as the asshole who played Sokka in that terrible Last Airbender movie.
Ew.
Oh, no. We do not speak of that ill-forgotten abomination.
Just bringing it up made me throw up in my mouth a little. Sorry about that. Anyway, but now the project is in its current incarnation, which has some, partners and backers like Insurgent Media, 20th Century Fox, and of course Vice Films. And the director in the director's show this time is an interesting choice, Jonas Åkerlund. For those who don't know, he was actually you could call him a somewhat influential black metal musician, as he was the founding drummer of black metal pioneers Bathory. He drummed with them for about a year, before he eventually moved on to a career as a surprisingly prolific music video director. He started off doing video for Candlemass, I believe, and then he moved on, in the 90s he did videos for guys like Jamiroquai, The Prodigy, and I even think he won, a Grammy Award for, directing a Madonna video.
That he did for Ray of Light.
And he's just been, moving on from there, just getting bigger and more... In fact, you want to know what the most recent thing Åkerlund directed was?
What's that, Rob?
He directed Beyonce's Lemonade video.
Oh.
Just think about... I need you to roll that around in your head for a minute. A black metal drummer eventually got so successful with a different career that he directed a video for one of the biggest pop stars on Earth that aired on HBO.
God damn.
What I'm saying is, Drake doesn't know a damn thing about starting from the bottom.
There is one point about this story I would like to bring up. How Insurgent Media's Esna Sand says, quote, "This is a premise with unique universal appeal." No, it's not. It's about black metal. A kind of train spotting for the millennial generation. Again, no, it's not. We have that. It's called Train Spotting. One of the greatest movies ever made.
I'll just say this right here. And, probably leave my, film nerd card at the door. I have never seen Train Spotting. But
fix it.
Even I can tell you that quote is probably bullshit.
Yeah.
Here's what you do. I will fix it.
Here's what you do to make a millennial Train Spotting. Remake Swingers or Reality Bites. Both of which were terrible movies.
I've never seen those movies either, but I'll take your word for it.
Not Swingers, Singles. How did I mess that up? Yeah, the movie that had the Alice in Chains song.
Which one?
Wood.
Damn, that's a great song.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can look forward to a Lords of Chaos film adaptation coming maybe same weekend as the new Tool album. We're never getting that album.
No.
I mean, shit, this isn't a news topic just on a tangent. Have you heard the latest rumor that apparently at a fan meet and greet, the guy said, "We have enough material for 2 albums, but so far only 5 songs are up to our standards."
Oh.
But yeah, Lords of Chaos, expect to see that at your local Well, hopefully not church. Lest someone burn that down. Okay, a couple more stories before we have to go. An update. We have to update you on a story from last week. The ever so crazy tale of Billy Corgan's lawsuits against TNA, which, remind you, is the company that he's president of. So, of course, we throw it over to Alex here, who knows all about it.
Okay. Y'all better sit down and relax. This is going to take a while. So, this past Tuesday, in court in Nashville, the trial officially began. Now, for Billy Corgan, he is claiming that he has saved TNA from foreclosure from Eearz Media, one of their production companies, several times, and in turn saving them from being defaulted on multiple payments. Now, the arrangement between Billy Corgan and TNA figurehead Dixie Carter was supposed to be, according to Corgan, a 100% equity pledge agreement, which means if TNA defaults, Corgan gains total control of Impact Ventures LLC, the parent company of TNA Wrestling. Supposedly, Corgan was appointed attorney de facto of TNA should an quote-unquote event of default occurs, and per the lawsuit, Impact Ventures is, quote, insolvent and, quote, its liabilities exceed the values of its assets, unquote. In other words, they owe way more than what they're worth. Now, Corgan's claim is that he was constantly left in the dark with Impact's balance sheets dating back as far as June 30th, and claims that the sheets he does have possession of show a negative balance, meaning debts to assets, all that. Now, on September 29th, one of TNA's other production companies and stakeholders, Anthem/MMC Acquisitions /The Fight Network, financed their October shows, which was a pay-per-view and some TV tapings. But on that day, Dixie Carter was informed of a default. These were all unsealed in court this past Tuesday, and this is just so juicy. Now, before going on, let's divvy up the stakes of TNA Wrestling. Dixie Carter owns 92.5% of the company. Anthem/The Fight Network owns roughly 2%, and Eearz Media owes about 5%. Now, on Wednesday, the lawyers got involved. And this is all courtesy of Nate Rao of the Tennessean, and the earlier facts that I stated from the Tuesday court of details were courtesy of Mike Johnson, the PW Insider. So, as for Wednesday, Corgan's attorney, Scott Sims, claims that Billy Corgan was misled by TNA and about their debts, and says TNA fails the quote-unquote balance sheet test and quote-unquote cash flow test, and says TNA has, quote, 52% more liabilities now than on their June balance sheet, unquote, and that their total debts are actually higher than before. Sims referenced negotiations TNA had with WWE, the biggest wrestling company on the planet, and said that WWE actually lowered their first offer. We'll get back to that in a moment, but their current offer also counts non-clause commitments. And unfortunately, that offer is lower than Corgan's estimate of TNA's liabilities. Here's where things get interesting, as Anthem and the Fight Network sent a press release saying that they're willing to pay off Corgan what he's owed, which is supposedly $1.8 million, and would appoint Jason Brown of Eearz Media as their new CEO. And Sims said that Dixie actually contacted WWE and said that she will not sell until Billy Corgan is out. To counter this, TNA's appointed attorney, Travis Parham, called the lawsuit a quote-unquote scheme for Corgan to take over completely and claims TNA is not insolvent. He states that Corgan doesn't want to be refinanced because he just wants Carter's whole stake in the company. He said that Corgan offered to buy TNA the day that his long-term loan agreement expired back in August, which would have given him a 52% stake of the company, and again tried to buy TNA in September before everything just went to hell and decided to go to litigation. And Parham states that the contract between Corgan and Carter is illegal under Tennessee law.
Oh.
So transfer of management can't even occur even if TNA is insolvent. And thankfully, hopefully, fingers crossed, there will be some kind of ruling in the courts in Nashville on Monday. The story just gets better and better, doesn't it?
Jesus Christ. Like, how is this even real life?
I don't know! I follow this stuff. It is crazy.
Jesus, this sounds crazy. Okay, the real life stories of, like, this TNA stuff sounds crazier than the kind of shit they have to make up for, like, TNA and wrestling storylines and stuff. Like,
this is not even scratching the surface of their shady past.
Oy vey. And
there's going to be a book about all this, I guarantee it.
And speaking of shadiness, and speaking of stuff that involves fighting, you remember that one gag on South Park? You know, the one where Russel Crowe had, like, a kid's TV show, and he was, like, going around the world and fighting everyone? That solves all your problems.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Russell Crowe's
back when
fighting
South Park
around
was
the world.
good.
Yeah. Looks like he's not fighting around the world anymore. He finally found one person that supposedly fought back. And her name is Azealia Banks. Apparently, Miss Banks was invited to a little party for Russel Crowe, host as the plus one for another guest of Russell's, good old RZA. Which is, to be expected. He directed Man with the Iron Fist, which Crowe was part of, so I assume they're still tight after that. By the way, why did that movie have to be such a letdown?
Who knows?
Okay, so apparently they were all at a party, and some weird stuff went down. There's multiple conflicting versions of it. Like, okay, Azalea's version of the story, apparently Russel Crowe hurled racial slurs at her, violently assaulted her, and spat on her at this party.
Was there alcohol involved by chance?
Dude, it's a party of Hollywood people.
So yes.
Drinking!
So it's the best alcohol, probably. Now, a different version of the story, the one seemingly endorsed by Russel Crowe, and even the RZA himself, the almighty RZA, the Wu-Tang Clan, claims that Azealia was the one who was being unreasonable and very obnoxious, uncouth, aggressive, hostile to everyone around her, so they had to take her out. There's a lot of, he said, she said surrounding this entire story. Shit, even to the point where apparently friggin' RZA had to drop Azealia from his label. That's
PR move.
You made me look bad at the party in front of my friends. This is what happens. This is just so... And even again, you try to analyze the story. You try to look at just the statements being made by witnesses and the various back and forth social media posts from, the RZA and Azealia. It's kind of hard to tell who's innocent, air quotes, in all of this. Personally speaking, I don't believe anyone's innocent. But that's just me, though.
I just have one thing to say about this. And I'm Javert.
Movie references.
Always fun.
Yeah, I don't know who the fuck I'm gonna leave in this case, considering the fact that all parties have been, they all acted, very stupid in their past, in the past, and I mean from Crowe and Banks, and especially RZA. I'm still mad about that. I'm still mad about that former douche nigga.
Yeah, basically, the moral of the story is, as I believe one of the guys from Death Clock would put it, everyone is dildos.
Everyone is dildos.
Pretty much. And so that covers all the news for this week. Now, one last piece of business. As always, the new album releases for the week of October 28th, 2016. And again, I must apologize in advance that the majority of these are metal, because the only notable ones were metal ones. If y'all want to get on this list, on this roundup, be notable and not metal. I mean, I like metal, but, I know not everyone listening to this would be metal people. But let's, get on with this anyway. First up, the newest album From industrial black and death metalers Uneohtrix titled The Whole of the Law. Yes. From mathcore veterans Car Bomb, their newest album Meta. Also, yes. From a band that I've actually seen live once before. They toured with High on Fire last year. The band Crowbar. Sludge metal band. New album, The Serpent Only Lies. Yes, it does. From thrash metal legends Testing, Brotherhood of... Wait, Serpent? Snake? I'm sensing a theme here.
Maybe it's a conspiracy.
Oh, shut up, Sato.
Next up on a plane.
The newest album from alternative metal act Helmet, titled Dead to the World, drops on Friday. And the only two non-metal releases of note that I saw, unless you actually want to know if there's a Kenny Chesney album out.
And we're not going to talk about country because country sucks. It's all the same.
We have the debut full-length album from popular nerdcore rapper Samus, titled Pieces in Space, and from the group Tovlo, a new album titled Ladywood. And that about wraps up all the new album releases for October 28th, 2016. Of course, this is the part now where we clean house and, so we can get the fuck out of here. So, Alex, where can they find you on the internets?
I am on the internets, on the Twitter machine, at Aura of Azure, where you can hear me bitch and moan and complain about how much Avid friggin' sucks!
Indeed. Mark, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Mac2Hypermedia. Also on my site, the Mind of Hyper One, at thehyper1.wordpress.com. I say a lot of shit on there, so yeah, I already did the whole spiel.
Indeed. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at RobBarracuda, as well as on AskFM and Instagram, and on YouTube by that same name, where you will always find new episodes of the podcast first. Sometimes, unless I'm trying to, get the audio done as soon as possible. So it might have to wait a little bit this week. And if you are listening to this on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you can always be notified when new episodes of the podcast goes up. And of course, this is the official music podcast of the website Surreal Resolution, which you can find at www.surrealresolution.com, as well as find the podcast on its own subdomain, decibelboost.surrealresolution.com. So bookmark those sites so you can always, drive traffic to Surreal Resolution and justify its existence. As well as not just listen to this podcast and past episodes, but also our gaming podcast, The Training Stage, in which our friends Tyler, Joey, and John comment on all goings-on in the video game universe. In fact, by the time you hear this, they should have a new episode out, one in which Alex and myself appear. And we talk about some fun stuff on there.
Yep, fun stuff that might actually be pretty dated whenever it goes up.
Possibly. Yeah, and also... update on that podcast, apparently they're now on iTunes and Google Play. So if you want to listen to that gaming podcast on the go right on ahead. And just search it up on the iTunes at Training Stage Podcast. And while you're on the site, make sure to stick around for all kinds of great articles about, music, film, anime. Shit, we got a bunch of anime write-ups right now. Currently doing series such as Nanbaka, Yuri on Ice, Drifters, Brave Witches, I believe.
Yep.
And, of course, the Yuri on Ice ones are done by our boy Alex.
Yep, it's gay as hell and I love it.
It also has fantastic ice skating. And a poodle.
Mm-hmm.
Poodles make everything better. And as always, shout out to the homie Mr. E, producer, for letting me use his music for this podcast. You are a gentleman, and I appreciate you letting me do that. And so, until next time, look, come up with your own damn outro, okay?
In the club looking so conspicuous. Wow, these women all on the prowl. If you hold the head steady, I'ma milk the cow. Forget about game, I'ma spit the truth. I won't stop till I get them in their birthday suit.
Okay, 1 second, I'm gonna take a quick swig of Coke. By which I mean Coca-Cola.
Right.
Do I look like Dr. Roxo to you?
I don't know. Do you?
Come on, Alex, you actually know what I look like.
Hey, you could be a clown. We wouldn't know.
Do I look like one of those killer clowns to you? Remember, I have Jim Root's mask, not clowns.